Bro, ain't no way they had her try to go for Atomic. No way, man. If I remember correctly, that wasn't even in the light novel. They added that just for this. And it is absurd, but amazing. I'm literally Beta on the sideline like, you wouldn't. And she's like, yes, I would. But man, guys, as amazing as I think this episode is, wow, did they rush through things here. Holy. I know for a fact that if you don't have the gift of context like I do, you're not going to understand this. They went through so much information so fast. Some of it actually pretty relevant information, man, that you're not going to be able to understand it. So many anime onlys are going to be like, what the hell just happened? So when we go through this, I'm going to explain to you guys exactly what happens in these scenes. So buckle up. We're diving straight into the Eminence in Shadow episode 3 today. And it's going to be a blast. First things first, immediately, Crimson's blown away. Oh, y'all thought he'd be relevant? You're watching the wrong show, guys. As we hear, man, I was sure this is where the last boss would be. So is this one of those group events that focuses on group battles and there's actually is no boss? Lame. Guess I'll check underground just in case. If there's nothing there, I'll pick up the rest of the gold coins and head home. But as our boy Sid leaves, we see that there indeed has been an awakening. And it's here as Mary and Claire make their way to the top of the tower. All hell is about to break loose. As Claire is immediately punctured through her heart here. As we see that Blood Queen Elizabeth is finally awake. And it's here she pulls Claire to her. Mary's begging her not to do it. As she punctures Claire's neck and starts drinking her blood. But it's here right before it's too late. Beta and Shadow Garden come and rescue Claire. And as 664, 665, and 666 all grab Claire, Beta stabs Elizabeth in the head and then blows her up. As Beta immediately asks, how is she? And she's told, she's still breathing, but I'm not sure emergency first aid will be enough. Claire is messed up. As Beta says, it doesn't look like we'll be able to beat a hasty retreat. Our Lord and Master has not yet revealed himself, even though he just did. That means he has some higher priority, some grand purpose to achieve first. Money. In other words, he has trusted me to handle this situation. Kinda. My Lord's sister is dying. I cannot allow her life to be lost. That one's true. That one's pretty true. And it's here's Beta, 665 and 666, aka Rose. Charge in. Our fight begins. As we see Elizabeth catches their bare attacks with her bare hands. Literally. As Rose says, she used her flesh to catch our swords. Literally. As Beta uses that instance for a little bit of slice and dicing. And then blows her up again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it's here, Mary's got to rain on our parade by saying, it's no use. I admit, you people are strong. But my queen has always been a slow riser due to low blood pressure. Meaning that she hasn't even been remotely serious until now. Because she's awake now. As Beta says, this magical energy is greater than Lady Alpha's? Yeah, it is. As we see Yukimi watching from the sidelines. As she says, you're quite the monster, aren't you? I'll have to time my departure carefully, aka get the hell out of here. But it's here, someone else has other plans, as the Juggernaut comes charging in there. As he says, hey, quit having so much fun without me. As he punches Elizabeth in the face, then immediately gets tossed aside like an insect. And it's here, Elizabeth goes a little dummy right now, as she is literally raining hell down on everyone here. Every single person here got messed up badly. We see Juggernaut even has his leg broken. He's out the fight already. As even Beta and the rest of Shadow Garden are pretty gravely hurt here. As her and Rose are the only two standing because the other two protected Claire. As Beta says, she expended all that magical energy, yet shows no signs of fatigue. As she says she's taking our blood and healing herself. No. She's making herself even more powerful with it. As she says, 666, take Claire and get out of here. And obviously Rose doesn't want to leave, but she tells her, you still have things you need to do, don't you? Second part of the season. And adds, right now, you must keep yourself alive. And it's here, something wild does happen. I might have fibbed you guys just a little bit last week. As all of a sudden, we see the possession start to appear again on all of their bodies. And I mean all of their bodies. As Beta says, she's controlling the blood of the demon? Because remember guys, possession is just happens to people that have the blood of the demon running through them. They can't control it, so their body turns to these mounds of flesh. Sid cured it, but he suppressed it. He never got rid of it because they still have the blood in them. And Elizabeth is controlling it now, as Beta says, how dare she spit in the face of Lord Shadow's blessing. As we see that Claire is no exception to this either, as she starts writhing in pain. And it's here! We get to a very important part of our episode. As all of a sudden, Claire wakes up in a nurse's office. Different from the light novel, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. Very funny. As we suddenly hear possession. Those symptoms that have been causing you so much anxiety. You were fully cured long ago. After all, he knows everything. As we see a very familiar face again that I know y'all are happy to see. As Claire's like, my possession's gone. Who is he? As Aurora says, someone you know very well. As Claire's like, what are you talking about? What's going on? As Aurora says, to put it simply, you're adapting, and unfortunately, you've lost control. Very soon, your body will turn into a rotting mess. And obviously, that's not a good thing. As Aurora says, so, I'm going to give you just a little bit of help. As Claire says, where am I? And who are you? Who in the world is this he person? As Aurora's like, that's a lot of questions you got. Is this a negative side effect of relaxed education policies? Man, they don't teach you kids nothing nowadays, huh? And it's here as Aurora starts explaining what's going on. You know, they made this the most convoluted explanation ever to confuse people. I know they did. As we hear, have you heard of evolution? It's a theory proposed by one scientist suggesting that people used to be monkeys. After many long years, those monkeys adapted to their environment and became humans. As Claire's like, what does that have to do with my current situation? Literally at all. As she continues and says, but then another scientist came along and said that living creatures do not adapt to their environment. Oh yeah, we're doing this whole shtick. In this harsh natural environment, only the smartest monkeys survived. And eventually became humans. In other words, the monkeys didn't adapt intentionally. The ones that happened to already be adapted to the environment survived and changed physically. And I love how Aurora is even like, what are we talking about? As Claire's like, how the hell am I supposed to know? You're talking nonsense. As Aurora's like, that's right. The point is the fact that the blood has divided into two different types is another result of adaptation. As she starts explaining that possessed and progenitor vampires, the bloodlines split in two, and the characteristics of each are clearly differentiated. And now, those two types of blood are trying to adapt inside of you. Unfortunately, you have the right constitution, and even more unfortunately, you don't know how to control it. And that's why the blood has gone berserk in your body. But it's here we run out of time in our little explanation. The school bell literally rings. As Claire's like, I think you were saying something kind of important there. Don't stop now. As we suddenly see these markings appear on Claire's arm. As she tells her, this will teach you how to control your powers. Things are really getting out of hand outside. As Claire says, who are you and what's your deal? Why are you helping me? As she says, I'm Aurora, and I helped you because you are his. As Claire says, who the hell is he? As she tells her, Shadow. And with that, it's time to go back to reality. And as we do, something very wild happens. As we see Aurora took over Claire's body. And to make this very simple and pretty quick for you guys, Claire is possessed, meaning that she has the blood of Diablos, aka Aurora, running through her. And now, because she was just bit, she has the blood of a progenitor running through her because of Elizabeth. So Aurora stepped in to help her control this so she wouldn't go out of control and become a mound of flesh. And now Claire has become her vessel, meaning that Aurora and Claire share the same body now. I told y'all Claire would become relevant, and things are only going to get more wild as we go through the series, but for now, it's still pretty freaking cool. I love it. I popped off when this happened in the light novel, let me tell you. As Beta says, it's the Witch of Calamity. As Beta says, what are you doing here? What happened to Claire? And she says, oh, you mean how I look? It's the same as what he does. And you, of course. It's just easier to move with my usual physique. Oh, and the change of color isn't magic. It's the reflection of the light. This is also something that they never explain in the anime, by the way, is the fact that when they go into their Shadow Garden mode, they all change their physiques up a little bit. That's actually why a lot of people don't recognize Sid, because he makes himself taller and all that. He quite literally changes his body to look more intimidating. And it's here as Aurora lets the girls pop out. It's time to get to fighting. As we hear, I wonder how much of this you can handle. And as Elizabeth attacks her, she says, sorry, but I'm the original. As she stops her blood dead in its tracks. And says, stealing control of blood that has left its body isn't hard to do. As she sends it right back at Elizabeth, cutting her in half. As the two of them start exchanging blow after blow. And I love how on the sidelines, Juggernaut's just like, oh, come on. Anything goes now, huh? Like, yeah, pretty much. As we see that Aurora is able to stop Elizabeth for a short amount of time. As she says, as a bonus, I'll show you the most almighty power in the world. As we get a very familiar backdrop and Beta says, you wouldn't. And Aurora's probably thinking, hell yeah, I am. As we hear, I am. But all of a sudden, her body starts crumbling. As she says, well, damn. It looks like this body couldn't handle that power. These motherfuckers were teasing us, bro! God damn it, don't do that! Beta's reaction had me dying, dude, watching this episode. As Aurora says, a little injury like this will heal in no time. You can do it too, can't you? And as Elizabeth is fully healed, Aurora says, this is fine. This is enough. My work here's done. I was only buying time until he arrived. Because it's here, the star of our show has arrived on the stage. And it's here, coins scattering everywhere. We hear, the hour of awakening has arrived. And immediately, our fight begins. And as our fight begins, we hear, he's holding his own against Queen Elizabeth. Nani! It's true, you are more powerful than the Witch of Calamity. Like, no shit. But all of a sudden, Beta's like, well, that's weird. Why is he taking time to entertain himself with an exchange of blows? He's already within easy striking range. He could take her out in a single attack. As all of a sudden, Beta has a revelation saying, I can't believe it, Lord Shadow. Are you shielding us from her onslaught? Knowing that we're helpless against her? As Shadow says, it doesn't matter the weight of the load. Some women would disagree with that. I can't afford to lose a single one. As Beta starts fangirling here, saying, I see the noble benevolence in your heart shining like glittering gold. Only that it is glittering gold, and Sid's talking about losing all his coins in this fight. As Beta's like, Lord Shadow, is that how deeply you care for me? As he says, no more. And she says, I pray for your victory. You can do it, Lord Shadow. As he's like, you can do it. I believe in you, Lord Shadow. As Sid's just like, God damn it, I can't lose more coins here. As we see a torrent of power, and he literally squares up with Elizabeth here. And as they both draw their real weapons, a real fight begins. As we see them almost quite literally dancing with each other in the sky as they're fighting. As Sid always says, they're having a conversation. As everyone on the bottom's just like, what the hell are coins doing here? As we see Yukimi on the ground is damn near swooning right now. And as their fight reaches its climax, Shadow says, tonight's game has gone on long enough, Your Majesty. As she tells him, would you be so kind as to tell me your name, my good sir? As this man answers in the best way possible with, I am. As Mary's begging him not to do it on the ground. As we hear, recovery atomic. And it's here, instead of a huge widespread explosion like everyone's expecting, we see that throughout the entire Lawless City, Sid has reverted all the ghouls back into people. And it's here, they cut a really important scene here that I'm kind of upset that they did. The conversation between Elizabeth and Sid here, where she tells him through their conversation, she wants to die. So Sid saves her here, along with everyone else, because she was so traumatized that she caused all of this. So he rectified that. And it's here as we see that Claire's okay. We see that Beta might or might not have vampire powers now. I don't know. We'll have to see. As she says, Etta's gonna have a field day with this, huh? Yes, she will. And it's here we hear Rose say, the Haven, huh? A place you can be with the ones you love. As we hear, we're leaving 666. And she, along with the rest of Shadow Garden, leave. And it's here as we transition to our next scene. And we see that these four jabronis lived to be pathetic another day. We hear ghouls, vampires, the possessed. They all have different names, but in the end, they're all just magic overload. Curing it is easy. But there are afflictions out there that can't be cured. As we transition to a flashback in here, my left arm is tingling. It's true. I have special powers now. Is my blood destiny trying to lead me somewhere? As Sid thinks bandages, magic circles, special powers. You guessed it, my sister's got it bad. Chanibio. But I can't dismiss her pain, because I too have been afflicted with it. No, all children have walked this path at some point. And brushing off a child's concerns is what drives them to delinquency. I would know. I went around beating the shit out of people with a crowbar. And it's here, Claire says, Sid, I need to tell you something. There are some special powers that have taken root in my left hand. I have to solve the mystery of these powers on my own. As Sid says, if I know you, sis, you'll be fine. Because no matter what path you follow, I'll be behind you all the way. And those words truly meant a lot to Claire here. And as we start leaving the Lawless City, Claire suddenly asks him, Sid, do you know about him? About Shadow? As he says, what, the guy who burned down our school? What about him? As Claire tells him, nothing. Never mind. And I'll tell you guys right now, she's starting to get an inkling. If anyone is actually going to find out that Sid is Shadow, it's probably going to be Claire, actually, now. All my theorizing in season 1 before reading the source material, thrown out the window. God damn it. As Sid says, I'm sure my sister has all kinds of trials and tribulations ahead of her. She'll have to confront her anxiety, her pain, reality. But her left hand has started tingling, so there's nothing we can do about it. He's talking about the Chinibio, of course. Because that's just how children grow into adults, as we see Elizabeth is seeing them off. As he says, I struggled with a few unforeseen setbacks. Let's just say, all's well that ends well. Alas, I never managed to get my coins. Damn it. I was supposed to have 3,000, but before I knew it, I only had 500. Which is still 50 million zenny, by the way. As he says, if you think about it, maybe that's plenty. After all, the Lawless City's always going to be here, and there's still 2 towers standing. Because the Lawless City is literally just my piggy bank. And with very happy-go-lucky music starts playing, you think our episode's over. Because it's not. As we transition to the capital and we see Sid getting on a train. As we see Shadow suddenly say, let's hear what you have to say. As he meets with Yukimi. And with that, our episode really ends. And yeah, guys, they definitely changed some things in this episode, but it was still great. What a fun, ridiculous episode, man. One thing they did change that I actually don't like, that I think would have been better originally, is that as they're leaving in the novels, they're leaving in a carriage, actually, and we get a little interaction between Sid and the Blood Queen. No one else sees it. No one else hears it. It's just wordless between them. As she tells him, thank you for what you've done. And it's just something so simple like that I feel like just would have been the perfect little cherry on top. But it is what it is. We still finished our Lawless City arc here as we go into our next arc. And all I can say is John frickin' Smith. Y'all will know what I'm talking about soon enough, baby. I feel so silly right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode down below, because this is a wild one. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, have a blessed day, and I will see you guys next time. Deuces.